Is long-distance relationship killing you? Let me tell you exactly why. Hi, my name is Kristen, and on this channel we talk about long-distance relationships. And today I am going to attempt to help you make some sense as to why your long-distance relationship never works. You might have clicked this video because you have some questions, and you might be in a situation where you're just not so sure anymore if you should stay in that long-distance relationship that you're currently in. As a matter of fact, long-distance relationship is not for everyone. Even if you didn't choose to be in this situation, you might still end up having to face it along the road or down the road. And if things have been very exhausting for you more than normal, then I suggest that you take a good amount of time to get to know yourself first, the LDR way. And then once you have a good perspective as to where you stand, then you can decide if it's something that is actually worth your while. So here are the major signs that a long-distance relationship is not for you. The first one is that your primary love language is physical touch. And a person who has physical touch as their only, one and only love language, they receive and give love through physical intimacy. And we all know that physical intimacy is just not present in a long-distance relationship. It's nearly impossible. And if you're the type of person who relies heavily or mainly on this form of love, then LDR will be very, very difficult for you to handle. You're probably just better off with someone who is within reach. The next sign would be that you're not ready for something serious. Long-distance relationship is not for short-term lovers. Why? Because the amount of commitment and hard work involved in making a long-distance relationship successful requires the willing and equal effort of a couple. It takes great patience, undeniable trust, honest communication to maintain a meaningful connection from a distance, all of which take a lot of time. Maybe you're in a point in your life where a tedious commitment can be extremely difficult, especially with someone who's not easily accessible to you. And if you're in that situation and you can't invest, then that's a good sign that a long-distance relationship is not for you. If most of your time and attention needs to be elsewhere besides your partner, then you might have to consider and think if this is actually something that you can do. The third sign is that you clearly know that the effort is one-sided. If you're always left on hold, and by always I mean like every single time, and if you're always the first one to reach out or to start a conversation, then you might have to take a few steps back. I already said this before in the 5 key principles on how to make long-distance relationship work, but you need to be reminded that a long-distance relationship operates on a love that is giving. Remember? The couples who strive to outdo each other in terms of giving always end up feeling more connected and satisfied in their relationship. Technically speaking, it's not a 50-50 type of thing, but it's more of like an 80-20 type of thing. Or in most cases, in some cases, it's 100-100. And when you are separated by distance, communication is all that you have. Communication is all that you have. If they can't even give you a little bit of their time to talk, or even the bare minimum, then it's time to put an axe into this relationship. It's just not gonna work out. If you feel that they're not investing the effort that you deserve, or vice versa, then that is a clear sign that a long-distance relationship is not for you or them. And building on that concept, the next one is that communication is already weak in your relationship to begin with. Being open and honest with your communication is a standard operating procedure when it comes to your long-distance relationship. If this is a big hurdle with you and your partner from the get-go, then you're definitely hanging on a very thin thread. Misunderstanding is one of the root causes of relational arguments and fights when it comes to long-distance relationship couples. And this issue is typically magnified when a couple is far away from each other. Without the proper face-to-face banter, the voice tone, volume, intonation, and facial expressions, it could be very hard to understand what your partner is saying. Talking through text, chats, messages, audio calls, video calls are a lot different from when you're speaking in person. And what you say is usually not what you mean. right? They could be reading what you're saying differently from what you have intended. And if communication is something that you guys have been struggling with, adding the distance factor to it is only gonna make things worse and hurt your relationship in the long run. So that's something that you might want to think about. The next sign is that you can't handle their busy schedule. Be honest with yourself now. You know that there's always a need inside of you to text, to call, or to message. And in some cases, to video call as much as possible with your partner. While this is okay to some extent, you have to learn to give your partner a breather. Let them breathe, okay? Everyone needs to take care of responsibilities in their life. It could be a job, a career, a passion, an errand, schoolwork. There's a lot of things. And all those responsibilities need attention and time from them. And from you too, of course. For a person juggling multiple obligations and duties, their schedule could become notoriously busy, and you need to be able to understand that. And if you're the type of person who cannot be with someone who has a jam-packed schedule, then LDR might not be for you. On the flip side, if you're someone who's extremely busy, you should reconsider keeping a long-distance relationship. Because if you want to make things work with your partner, you're gonna have to give up some time to focus on them. The answer is this: compromise. The next sign is that you need consistent sleep. For couples who are living in different countries and different time zones, there will always be somebody who will give up some sleep. It's either one will sleep later or the other one will wake up earlier. You're actually very lucky if you and your partner are just a couple of hours in time difference. But for those who are unfortunate, they do end up having a messed up sleeping pattern and sleeping schedule, which could drastically affect their mood and their health. So if your partner has become so snappy all of a sudden, you need to be a little bit more patient and understand what they're going through. And if you're the person who needs and loves consistent sleeping pattern, then being in an LDR may become difficult for you. Ultimately, your health is very important and of utmost priority. And if you are not well enough or you're sick, then you are not going to be able to love your partner well enough, which could in turn make your long distance relationship fail in the long run. So if you are uncomfortable or you're bothered by a changing sleeping pattern, if this change is something that negatively affects you, then you should think twice about making this sacrifice. The next sign is that you already have doubts. Issues with trust is already difficult when you guys are together, but having trust problems in a long-distance relationship could amplify everything. With the lack of physical intimacy and physical presence in your relationship, your doubts with your partner could actually increase within a snap, particularly if it's something that you have both been dealing with from the very start. When a trigger point sets off, it will become too unbearable for you, and then you succumb into the depths of overthinking. You'll always be left wondering what they're doing. Plus, you will always find yourself questioning if they were honest with you with their updates or not. And think about it, is this something that you're actually prepared to handle? If not, then the LDR that you're currently in might not be for you. Honestly, trust plays a gigantic role in making long-distance relationship worth fighting for. Without it, it's all just games. The next sign is that you can't stand waiting. Waiting is a big part of LDRs. In fact, waiting is probably one of the biggest hurdle in a long-distance relationship next to physical absence. And if you look closely and if you observe, LDR couples are very patient people. They are always willing to go an extra mile in terms of waiting just to be reunited with their partner. And meetups, to tell you the truth, could take a couple of months to years. And for some, it could even mean more than that, like 10 to 15 years, especially for those who are serving jail time. If you're the type of person who thrives on instant gratification and waiting is just not your strong suit, then long-distance relationship might not be for you. The next sign is that you are virtually disconnected. Phone calls may exhaust you and video calls could be logistically a hassle for you. You might be the type of person who loves or likes physical interactions, and your longest text messages are probably comprised of the words hi and Okay, you hate being on social media and looking at your phone for hours is not your cup of tea. If you don't like holding your phone all the time, or if you have some difficulties with staying connected online, then a long-distance relationship may not be ideal for you. The next major sign is that you don't see yourself living in a different place. One day in your long-distance relationship, you do have to face this specific fact. Eventually, there will come a time when your relationship will reach a certain level where you both need to make a decision on who will make the move. It's either you or your partner. And if you have absolutely no desire in moving, then you're pretty lucky if your partner is willing to do that move. However, in reality, that's not always going to be a perfect case because there are gonna be a lot of factors playing into who's gonna best move where. And what if neither one of you wants to actually move? Who will adjust? Are the two of you able to face LDR forever? I mean, someone needs to compromise at some point. If no one is ever willing to budge, then you both must understand that a long-distance relationship is probably not possible anymore. The next sign is that you think it's a scam. It's true, a lot of times people can get scammed through the internet. And this could happen to people who met their significant other through a dating app or online or even a dating website. And sometimes if you're not very careful, these things could go down the drain pretty quickly because you never know if you've met the one or someone crazy. A good indication that they are scammers is that oftentimes they would ask you for money or favors. Also, if you unfortunately stumbled upon someone who just wants to scam you in exchange of your love, you will start to notice that there's no transparency when it comes to your long-distance relationship, especially when you're asking about important questions. They will most likely try to dodge it when you want to take a video call with them. And in this case, a long-distance relationship is dangerous for you. So just be very wary and cautious. And if you feel that your current partner is fake or is scamming you, then LDR might not be for you in this scenario. I suggest run fast. The next sign is that you don't see a future together. When you try to picture yourself 5 to 10 years from now, you just don't see that person there. You probably still have a bucket list of things that you want to do and a bunch of goals that you want to achieve. Maybe there's that life dream you've been meaning to catch ever since you were little. And perhaps you feel that the person you're with right now doesn't fit with the person that you want to become. They might have a different dream or aspiration compared to where you want to be in the future. And when you count the steps towards each other's goals, they might end up being separated instead of coming together. Whatever the reason may be, you just seem to fail to imagine that person being there in those big moments of your life in the future. If this is your dilemma, then a long-distance relationship might hinder the growth of the two of you. The next sign is that you don't want to get married. Do you struggle with the notion of getting married or having a family? Did you experience violence or trauma from a broken home? Were you in a situation where you've never met your parents? Or do you have no clear memory of what marriage looks like? And maybe you just don't see any point in settling down. Whatever the reasons, be it a painful past or a personal choice, you just know full well that a lifetime commitment is not for you. If that is the case, then this is definitely a major sign that a long-distance relationship might not work out for you. Mainly because the dynamics of an LDR is very, very similar to that of marriage. And if you haven't noticed, successful long-distance relationships, which were actually successful, always ended up being together for good. And isn't that the goal of LDR anyway? Is to take away the distance factor and just stay together forever? The next sign is that you're uncomfortable with long-term goals. Maybe you're just not in that mindset yet, and you might be in a headspace where you still want to discover what life has to offer. You probably just want to live in the now and in the moment, to go with the flow and to figure things out as they come. And maybe your mantra is to seize the day. And as a person, if you just naturally don't like planning the next steps, or you just don't bother yourself looking into what the next year will look like, then a long-distance relationship might not work for you. You probably want to believe that things can change every minute anyway, so you don't really see any point in planning. However, a long-distance relationship does require a lot of planning and goal setting. So if you just don't see yourself looking too far ahead and that's not something that you're interested in doing, then this is a good sign that an LDR is not not for you. The next and last sign is that you just know that they're not the one for you. Deep in your heart, you just know that you can't fight for someone that you're not very sure of. When you know, you know. That's a common phrase that you'll often hear from long-distance relationship couples who have been successful in their journey. You're probably in that gray area where you love your partner, but it's just not enough. Overall, you realize that letting them go is probably the best option for you. Because deep in your mind, you know that they deserve someone better. Someone who can love them and truly commit to them in the long run. But unfortunately, that someone is just not you. So, in conclusion, if you look at all the signs that I've given you right now, a long-distance relationship is probably not for you because at the end of the day, you know that you're not with the right person. I'm sorry to burst your bubble, but that is like a major reason why your LDR doesn't work. And for most LDR couples, it's about being together for good, counting each day and minute and hour and moments until they see each other again and never have to say goodbye. It's about closing the distance and never having to watch them leave over and over and over and over again. And the main goal is to become one. And if that's not the case for you and your partner, then your LDR is most likely not going to work out. That is the reason why some professionals say that 95% of the time, long-distance relationships don't work. And that's because it's not meant for temporary lovers. I mean, think about it. Was there ever any successful long-distance relationship that didn't end up getting married and living together? Isn't that the core aim of LDR? To finally put a stop to the distance, to end the waiting, and to be with the person that you love? So if you don't have that intense gut feeling and that surefire clarity in your relationship, or the incredible teamwork, then maybe it's not bound to last. Because people who survive long-distance relationships always say, when you know, you know. So how can you truly know if your long-distance relationship with a person is worth it? You just know. And that ends our list of signs as to why a long-distance relationship is not for you. I hope that clears some things out in your head and that helped you understand more about you. If you made it this far, consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell so that you can stay notified and updated with recent long-distance relationship topic videos. So my question for you is long-distance relationship for you or not? Let me know in the comment section below because I'd love to hear your story. And as always, I will see you later. Well, let me tell you. The LDR way. LDR way? The LDR style.